Hey everyone, Smash Trivia John here. I wanted to take a moment to alert you about the fact that there's been a change on the Smash Trivia Patreon. So we now instead of having the having tiers going up to $10, we only have them going up to $5. But that does not mean you're not getting you can't get the content that was on the $10 tier, as both the one night smashes and the challenging smashy to Keith's trivia is now a part of the $5 tier, so you get even more content for just $5. It's a hell of a deal. I highly recommend you join the Patreon, and I would really appreciate if you did that. And also, I also wanted to tell you about something that is happening. So, we are finally getting into October. And you know what October means? It's spooky time. So, we have on the Patreon, we're going to have a spooky She-Hulk comic that features both She-Hulk and The Thing. And then we also have our B-Smash, which is going to have not one, not two, not three, not four, but five B-Smashes this month, including in all four of the Halloween Town films, and also Rob Zombie's The Munsters. I'm so excited for all of that, and I will also be making sure that Keith at the end of the month gives me some trivia and some Smasher passes that are relating to Halloween. So that's gonna be very, very exciting. I really hope you join us for this spooktacular season of Halloween. And also, even if you aren't gonna be on the Patreon, you're also going to get some spooky stuff on the normal podcast, as I have planned out. After She-Hulk ends, we're going to have two spooky episodes of the Gamma Analysis is in coming near the end of October, and one of these episodes will be featuring a trivia question that I've had up my sleeve. I've been waiting to use since the very beginning of this podcast, back in November of last year. I've been wanting to use this trivia question, but I've been waiting for the spooky time, because it's a great spooky question. I'm so excited for you all to see what I have cooked up for you. And that is all I want to say. Thank you everyone for listening to my podcast. I really appreciate everyone who listens. All right, back to the regularly scheduled podcast. Welcome to Smash Trivia for this the spooky October. I'm your host, as always, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia to follow everything happening with me. I'll be the one with the big green head in the profile picture. I'm so excited to get into this. Let's hope you survive this whole thing. This is the Gamma Analysis, basically. In this series, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies and TV shows. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening if they could please do something for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends. And all right, for this episode, we're going to be reviewing two werewolf-themed Marvel things, including both Werewolf by Night and a werewolf kinda themed AIM 70s Hulk episode. And I'd like to take a moment to say that Smash Trivia now has a Patreon, so please check that out. We have some fantastic extra content on there I bet you'll love. Of the tiers are as follows. $1 a month is Hulka Holla for $1. $3 a month is Reading Room with Hulkie and Shulkie. $5 a month is Smashing the TV. And throughout the whole month of October, there's gonna be lots and lots of spooky content on there for you to devour. And I'm joined today by my co-host Keith. How are you doing, Keith?
I am spookified, terrified by your spooky voice. I saw someone reference it the other day, and I went, "Wait a minute, he added a spooky voice. I need to hear this." So I'm very glad to hear
I'm
it.
guessing what Whitney was talking about. Which shout out to Whitney. I'm guessing what she was talking about is how I have for the whole month of October at the beginning of each of these each episode, I put a little promo. Oh, there's a separate recording with that basically I was telling everyone about all the changes that at the end of September I set up on the Patreon, and then I like halfway into it I went into the spooky voice to tell everyone about the how we're going to have so much spooky content on the Patreon.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's iconic. It's terrifying, and it's also of a very wonderful generation of spooktacular things, where everything, from the Monster Mash to spooky scary skeletons to Elvira to monsters, all that kind of campy spook I really enjoy.
Oh man,
my cat's sneezing up a storm. If her sneezes get picked up, this is Noodle. Goober got a cold last week, so I think she's dealing with it this week. But her sneezes are much wetter. You okay?
Oh, that's.
Are you gonna sneeze all over my face? All right, I'm gonna put you down.
Poor kitty.
We're taking them to the vet Friday. Hopefully, they're both fine, and we'll get them all fixed
that's
up.
That's good. Which you're talking about that out. Right before you started talking to Cat, it reminded me. I did just put out it'll been in a little over a week from where I'm putting this episode out, but I did put out very recently my B Smash episode on Rob Zombie's The Munsters, which I'm so excited for people to listen to and that or watch. And also probably by the time this comes out, I will have recorded and put up at least my first Halloween Town episode, or Halloween Town review, or not review, reaction. And also I can't say if it'll be actually out by the time this episode's out, but I should, by the time this episode's out, I should have recorded my my reading room with Hulkie and Shulkie episode, which is a spooky She-Hulk and the Thing review, as I'm hoping to be able to review that record that on the same night as we record our She-Hulk finale review. Which, if anyone's wondering, yes, we are recording this before the She-Hulk finale review, even though it's gonna come out afterwards.
You just said a whole lot of words.
Yes, yeah, I did.
If you're recording the She-Hulk reading the same night as the She-Hulk finale, did you have dibs on playing the voice of the Thing? Or
if you can do a better voice than me, then I would absolutely be fine with that.
I don't know if I could do a better Thing voice than you, but I'd love to try.
Maybe I can. I can see what I can do with the some of the robotic vampires in the sewers that are in that comic.
Also, highly depends on when the other person is available. I assume.
The other person being Annabelle, and
yes.
She's her and Gin and Tonics are going to be our guests for the She-Hulk finale. That's why I planned that and try and get them get
so
the comic reading done the same night. Which I will offer then as well. Gin and Tonics, if she wants to be a part of it. I hope that there's multiple female characters in the comic to be so that she would have someone to play.
You know what though? She could play a dude.
Yeah.
She's a talented person of many faces. Maybe it's voices as well. I know she's a cosplayer.
Yeah. And actually there's actually a possibility we could be soon getting a video of her as She-Hulk telling people to listen to the Gamma Analysis sometime soon. So look out for that.
Yes! That sounds awesome.
All right. All right. So I have a trivia question for you that I have been saving for quite a while.
All right. I'm excited.
In addition to his strength, what little known superpower does the Hulk have?
Little known aside from his strength, and I assume that
This is
healing ability would also fall under the
yeah.
strength thing because he's such a fast healer.
And I think some things you need to remember for this is this is one. This is not something that they've ever done with anything within the movies. This is just this is something from the comics, and then also remember the season we're in.
Ooh, okay. He is able to communicate with ghosts.
Okay, well, I will give you the answer later. See if you got that correct.
I can almost already tell that I did not, but that's okay.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure.
Oh shit!
You may have.
All right.
For our Hulka Holla for $1, we have Film Kirk, Derek Sager, and Gabriel Floral. As always, I highly recommend watching the content before you listen to this podcast because we're going to be spoiling the hell out of everything. The podcast I want to shout out this time is the Pedro Pascal podcast, where two ladies go through Pedro Pascal's filmography. One of the hosts is Rachel, who was one of the people on one of my She-Hulk reviews. So if you enjoyed her on here, you'll probably enjoy her podcast. Woo-hoo. And then for the entire month of October, because this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm putting 3 donation links in the description. Those are Fuck Cancer, Cancer Teamwork Response, and the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Nice. All right, so let's get into the first one of these reviews. This one is the Antwalk Horror, an episode of the 70s is Hulk. So, what did you think of this episode, Keith?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little taken back by the fact that it's been a while since we did the Incredible Hulk. We reviewed it. It's been a while since we reviewed it. And I think that the nostalgia and the comfort blanket that came over me at first, I was very much like, oh, good. It's the Hulk again. And we can see what the 70s were like, as well as just what, they're doing with the Hulk in that time when it was just getting mainstream all of a sudden. And the episode wasn't terrible. Wasn't my favorite, obviously, but
definitely not my favorite either.
There's some great cameos in it. There's a little bit of confusing motives, but overall it was just okay.
Yeah.
Seemed to go by like a flash.
So, I would probably agree with all of that. This episode, basically this episode, David is in this small town called Antwalk, which I feel like the name Antwalk was like it feels like something like you'd find a werewolf thing out of. So I'm wondering if that's a reference to something, but I couldn't find anything it was a reference to. You have any ideas?
Antwalk County or Antawalk? No, I don't know.
But doesn't it kind of sound like something you could see a sign relating to werewolves to have to do with that?
I don't know. I don't know necessarily what it could be.
But
so I mean, I've seen a lot of werewolf stuff before, and I don't know. That's not jumping out.
But... So basically, he's in the small town, working at the shop, with a father and her daughter. We find out that the mother has passed away, and the father doesn't really like David, and
putting it lightly,
and he ends up causing the Hulk to come out, and then and because of the of Hulk coming out, they decide there's a beast in our town. We should prophetize on this, and and so he decides to turn himself into a fake werewolf and to get people to come to the town, and there's a lot of ridiculousness ensues.
Yeah, I mean, it essentially comes down to this guy finds David well, he's called David Barton this time around.
Yeah,
He finds
okay.
his
That name, that name, I want to talk about that because so far in the show, every episode he's had different names.
Mhm.
This is the same name he used in the season 1 finale, that the waterfront story.
However, they spelt it with an O-N, and this is an E-N.
Ah,
I'm totally joking. I did not know how he spells it, but
Wow.
that is surprising
Yeah,
that he would.
I thought that was
ran out of B
interesting.
names real quick. Like 1 and a bit seasons, and they run out of B names. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny. But no, he's the father's Harlan, who's played by an actor who many people might recognize today from the Sons of Anarchy series. He played Piney, which was a very cool character, but I'd never seen him act in anything else. I didn't realize he was so good. He's actually quite charismatic and quite intimidating at points. But in this opening sequence, we see he's basically just like, oh, I'm the only one looking after my daughter. And he does like beg for her forgiveness after lashing out, which I thought was kind of charismatic too. I was very glad to see that he wasn't just a douche.
I was honestly not sure how I feel about his character, because it kind of felt to me like throughout the episode, like his character just goes back and forth, or it's a lot with how he acts with things.
I agree. It felt very much he was threatened by education and the fact that David had some. But then it's like education versus entrepreneurship. And it's like so many people, they get to a certain point in school and then they just branch out and they start a business for their own, and they just chase the entrepreneurship dream. And that's what this guy's kind of done. And he just probably bopped from thing to thing, and he's had this shop and it didn't, it's not working out because everybody's gone. So he's going to take it upon himself to fix the town by entrepreneuring up a werewolf.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, one thing relating to him and and also his daughter that I really did not like the episode is it feels like he treats, and his daughter like feeds into this, he treats her like a housewife.
Yes.
That's so weird to me.
It is weird, and I feel it's an older generation like kind of notion where the kids are supposed to take care of the father because he brings home the bread or whatever. He's supposed to be the provider, but once he's the provider, then they need to take dote on him. But he does treat it the way like, oh, you take care of me real good since your mother's gone, and go make me a sandwich and stuff like that. It's like you're supposed to be taking care of her.
Yeah, the idea of a housewife, it's already really outdated and just crappy. But to have that on a child is just so much worse.
And a mourning child, like you can't imagine that it was that long ago that she lost the mother. I don't think they actually go into much detail, but
no.
Yeah, it's a little strange that she's. I mean, she's unfortunately one of the few people in the world that grows up fast when they have that kind of life.
And and she's very much happy with this kind of life. As there, as you have, once he's left off to make everyone think he's a werewolf. There's a scene in at night where she tells David, "Oh, Mr. Barton, your dinner is ready." I'm like, what the hell?
Well, I as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, oh, she's now in on it. Like she knows. And that was revealed to us later from that Brad character.
Yeah.
That did you tell her? Did you tell Sam? And then he's like, yeah, I told her. And it's like, oh, she's just lying.
I don't know that she actually was told. I think he just told his friend that, but he didn't actually tell her. I think she figured it out herself by finding that the blood on the shirt was rabbit.
That's right. That's right. I did forget that she says that earlier. I think either way, that display that she's doing where she says, "You're Mr. Barton," I think she's just covering for
Yeah.
his suspicion and trying to get him to shut up. And I'm not going to tell you anything, but your dinner's ready, so be happy. I'm feeding you.
So I did enjoy the scene where Harlan as werewolf just wreaks havoc on the this fair that's going on. I thought that was really fun. That was like the only really a little bit spooky scene within the episode.
I was almost relieved to find out that it wasn't a real werewolf, only because I knew that this couple of the still images that I saw when I was looking up cast members and stuff like that. I saw how bad the werewolf makeup was, and I was like, "Is this the way the show would do one, or is it just like the '70s and it's low budget?
Can you
and
really?
it's just okay?"
But would you really put it past them when all they do for the Hulk is they paint him green?
Exactly. That's why I was a little worried. I was like, okay, the werewolf might look terrible based on this picture in this Google search, but then I see I was like, that kind of looks like, first time seeing it, I saw his face kind of from a distance in the makeup, and I was like, that kind of looks like the guy who's playing Harlan. Then he flipped a truck at the fair,
Yeah,
and I was like,
I was like,
that's
what?
gonna be a real werewolf. And then did he just have like mechanics doing that?
So he made a reference and it's later in the episode. This is something I only caught my second viewing today. But so he said the trap at the very end of the episode that David ends up letting loose, right,
with the logs.
So
yeah.
So that has a propel tank, tank of air, I think, behind, and he said that that's the same way he flipped over the sheriff's car. The thing is, I understand that's what they're going for, but I also feel like you would have to have a really powerful air tank for that to actually be able to happen.
It's true.
That was like Hulk level strengths in there that scene.
When you meant, like, I do remember the tanks of air that he had in the back room that he was like bullying David in. He like brought him back there to like clean up, and he's like, "Oh man, it's too hard to work for you, Barton," and like he's bullying him. I thought I sadly, one of my pros for this episode is how comical that scene was when he first changes into the Hulk, because to me it reminded me of those old telemarketing commercials where it was just like, "Do you ever find that your cupboards or cabinets are too disorganized, so you can't find anything?" It's just like people letting things like clumsily spill all over them, like Tupperware containers and stuff. And it just, the way he drops the tank, then falls back into some barrels and they fall over him, I was like, oh man, he can't get anything right. It just looks so cartoonish, but it was
and also cartoonish about how the fact that I think David Banner, he has a bit more strength than that. He should be able to carry those boxes.
He's in good shape. Like, he's not even like that like weak of a science nerd. Like, it was just kind of funny to me that he's back there struggling.
I enjoyed that scene too. Now you talked about the look of the werewolf this episode. Mm-hmm. This was one of my my big gripes with the episode.
Yeah,
and very close to as big as the housewife daughter thing. They did blackface. They basically did blackface.
I know what you mean, but at the same time, I have to disagree. To me, that is not that is not blackface, because the end result isn't him trying to look like a person of color. He's trying to look like a werewolf of the old movies, the old monster movies, and in no way is it supposed to be like, oh, now that I'm a wolf man, I'm also black. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I think it's just brown makeup because werewolves are supposed to look like that based on the old monster films. In no way do I think, like, if he was wearing brown makeup on his face and like a flat top and a chain, then I would be like, oh damn, this is incredibly offensive. Like, what is he doing this weird stereotype for? But no, I don't know if you can really list that as blackface if he's doing a werewolf.
It still does feel a little weird. It's not okay. It's not that bad, but it still does feel a little weird and like it definitely feels like out of a different decade. They wouldn't do something like that today for a werewolf, even if they're doing practically.
I see what you mean, and I think that they would use a lot less brown to begin with, period, and a lot less makeup, and it would be more of a snout and everything. It'd be very clear that they were going for. But there's certain boxes you got to check off when you identify something as blackface, and brown makeup is absolutely one of them. On a white person is definitely another, and then the goal of looking like someone who is a person of color is a big determining factor. And if he was just trying to look like a werewolf, I'm not sure this does fit under that category.
Yeah, I can see that. So one character in the episode I did really like was the like hunter guy. I thought he was a lot of fun in the episode.
Buck Hendricks, was that his name?
I'm not sure.
I love any hunter named Buck is brilliant.
I just the whole time I just thought of him as like Sam Neill if he was in the 70s.
Yeah, because that's the first thing I thought when I saw him, because he was at the tan pants, the blue shirt, and then the little neckerchief
and the beard. And how the beard looked, and then also kind of his voice. He's like kind of worked or does it Sam Neill kind of too.
Yeah,
I thought that was a lot of fun.
Dr. Alan Grant.
One thing I do really like, and this is something that honestly surprises me with the 70s, and the fact that they've done this multiple times in the 70s Hulk, is this show surprisingly very anti-gun for the 70s.
Yeah.
But there's been multiple times where Hulk has just destroyed guns, and you have literally the main character with David Banner. He is very obviously very against guns, and I love that.
Yeah,
that there's some that surprisingly for a show from the 70s they had that.
To me, it was a matter of the. It depends to me on who's writing it, and in the 70s, the 60s and 70s, it would have been very much, okay, are you part of the hippie side of things, or are you part of the, guns are great kind of side? And David Banner runs around in bell-bottom jeans and what we call a Canadian tuxedo, wearing all the denim top to bottom, and that man is a hippie. Bruce Banner is a hippie. Yeah. He likes science and he likes no guns. He's a pacifist.
Yeah, Ted Johnson, who created who created the series, probably would be against that idea of saying that David Banner is like a hippie, just based on how he didn't want him to be called Bruce because he thought it was too gay.
Well, I mean, certain people, I think at the time, you could be. I think that the strange nowadays, if you were to have all the same values of what we would call a hippie compared to 1978.
No, you could be. I am definitely not trying to say anyone who are hippies is gay. I'm just saying.
No.
Like, I feel like in the 70s, if someone is against calling someone on Bruce because they're all he thinks it's a too gay of a name, I think he probably would consider people who are hippies to be gay, because he's trying to bring in a lot of stereotypes towards gay people of them being flamboyant.
I think that it's like a Venn diagram where it's like there are a lot of hippies at the time, or what you could call, I put up air quotes, you can't see them if you're listening, But that there are a lot of hippies at the time that would be absolutely pro LGBT at the time
Oh
in
yeah.
the 60s and 70s. But to be a hippie, in air quotes again, doesn't necessarily mean that you are pro that. It just means that you're anti-war, you're pro-peace, you're probably a little more experimental with your drugs, and you enjoy a good rock concert of the more progressive bands out there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean go hand in hand. I mean the 60s had a different take in probably every country that the music wave and the cultural zeitgeist
Oh yeah.
washed over. And I think America might have been one of the slower to coming to terms with the acceptance of the LGBT, as opposed to maybe some of the more hippie things that were happening in England or across Europe. Yeah. Anyways, I'm theorizing now. I'm going down a rabbit hole. Focus up. Let's go.
So is there anything else particularly you'd like to talk about this episode?
I was just kind of in it.
I don't really think there's a lot really to meat to this episode, honestly.
There isn't. There isn't. There is a Jack McGee scene in this. He doesn't want the guy Buck. What's his name? Lexicon? No, Buck Hendricks. That's it. He doesn't want Buck responsible at all or related to his story. And then Buck's the only one to have a close encounter with the Hulk, so he suddenly wants. He says he's property of the what is it? The National Enquirer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
his paper.
He's a employee at the National Enquirer.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I also just enjoyed Harlan's performance. I thought that the guy the guy from Sons of Anarchy who plays Piney, I think that Harlan was a complicated character and he was doing a lot with it that I didn't expect to like. And he wasn't necessarily 100% a bad dude like we've seen in the past with some of the small town folk that we've seen, but he wasn't the best guy. He's just trying to sort stuff out.
Now, two things I did like about this episode. David is almost trying to be like a father figure to this little girl, and I enjoyed that. I think he did a really good job at that. And then also this is something that it surprised me that the show did, but I really was happy they did. After how last episode of the show was that married episode where his new wife passed away.
Right.
I'm happy they didn't just immediately have him have another love interest.
Yeah.
Because
that
would have felt like they're just forgetting that happened. That happened, and that's something I could have easily seen the show do. But I'm happy that they didn't.
Yeah. With how episodic the show feels, instead of like it feels more serial than what's the other? No, hang on. It feels like the arc of David doesn't really take place over several episodes. It feels like maybe a lot happens behind the scenes we don't really see, and then suddenly there's an episode that ties in at the end of the season that ties in at the beginning of the season. But those episodes in between are usually standalone serial kind of things. So it is. I am glad that they had no love interest in this, and that it was purely about a hoax. And why would I was here all night? Why are they still seeing the monster? And like he caught on pretty quickly, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, though I was surprised how he was like he just immediately was like, I'm gonna call them out on this, even though this could make them start suspecting me as the green monster that came.
And it kind of made me happy there weren't werewolves in this universe. I'm not to say that there never will be, but the idea of Hulk being a special kind of thing, I want them to run with that as long as possible. I know that there's other heroes that come along and other people that are with special abilities later in the series, but I think that we can run with Hulk being the one and only for quite some while.
Yeah, one thing I thought was hilarious because it was just it made no sense for him to need to say this, but the Harlan's and friend and when the first Hulk out happened, so they come into the room. They're both staring at Hulk, and he just tells Harlan, "This is a bad thing. This is really bad." Like, I think Harlan can figure that out. I think he can see what's happening in front of him.
My most laughable, like not on purpose laughable moment was that, so Harlan shoots all those logs at him, and he's like, "Harlan, you've got to stop this." And then he says a couple words to him. He's like, "You're fired, Barton." And that's when we get the Barton with the eyes. We get the David. He transforms. I was like, "Oh, he can't handle getting fired."
I really enjoyed how instead of it just being a fight at the end, and the fight stopped, and they worked together to save the little girl.
Yeah,
like because we don't see enough of Hulk saving people. It's more of him fighting the bad guys, not saving the good people.
True, and he
like
turns
when
hearts.
we get to see that.
He turns hearts and he changes minds when he does that kind of thing in front of them. And there's that moment where, as soon as she's in danger, Harlan snaps out of it almost and is like, "Oh, why the hell am I fighting this big green monster? I gotta save my daughter." He has this like face to face, like, hesitation with Hulk, but neither of them do anything, and he just kind of walks past him to go save his daughter. And I was like, that's a really cool way of showing that the Hulk doesn't actually want to fight you. You're the one fighting him. Like, you're chucking rocks at him and being an asshole, and go focus on more important things.
This isn't surprising, but I really enjoyed the Hulk jump down from the mountain. That was a really good Hulk jump.
I wondered how they were going to do it. I was like, because I knew he was going to do it. As soon as you see him up there, like, perched, I was like, is there going to be like a is there going to be some sound effect that we hear, or is it just going to look as natural as they can? And he leaps,
and it actually did look pretty natural.
Good. I liked it a lot. The landing was nice and planned, and like right in front of the guy. It was really good.
I was actually thinking that was going to happen earlier, or as I was thinking Hulk was going to jump down, and the little girl would fall into Hulk's arms.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was important to have Harlan be part of the rescue.
I think that was definitely a good choice. But like, when I first saw it, her along the edge, I was like, "Oh, Hulk's gonna jump down. He's gonna catch her as she falls."
When I saw how she was holding on and the cliffside shape of it and everything, I was like, if Hulk did that, it would be a very expensive stunt.
Yeah.
So I was like, they don't have the budget for this. I know they don't.
I did think
they spent all their money on finales. We'll see it maybe in the future.
I did think it was hilarious how so Hulk grabs Harlan and to hold him in place to grab his daughter, and you can physically see that Harlan just throws the stick out of the out, like it's like, "Oh yeah, we don't need this prop anymore."
He's like, "Use me as the stick. I'm the stick."
Oh man, like it would make more sense that he would just keep holding the stick and he'd be closer to her so she can grab the stick. But that makes the cooler scene, her grabbing his hand.
It would have been half the amount of time. Yeah, everything would have been solved.
Yeah, I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. How like they definitely wanted to make it seem like he dropped the stick out of surprise, but it was very obvious that he threw the stick.
Yeah, it did come off pretty obvious.
You guys have heard now our thoughts on this. Now let's go into our other werewolf theme thing. This one actually has a real werewolf in it. This is Marvel Studios' Werewolf by Night Halloween special. I absolutely love this. This was so good.
It was so different and fun, and I was bragging about it to Clinton today. Actually, we were talking about just like how fresh it felt, and the same thing goes what we're anticipating and hoping with Wakanda Forever is just the fresh, different kind of feel. Marvel has its brand down with the quippy and campy and funny and clearly fun-loving and family-oriented stuff. And it's like there was a time when they would shock the hell out of you sometimes, and I want that again. And it's the same thing with the we had to wait for that Daredevil episode of She-Hulk to really have our just shock and awe moment at the end of it, especially the tone shift of that ending at the end of the episode 7 or 8.
I truly think I truly think that and even more so than the snap. I think this is the most terrifying thing that Marvel's ever put in anything.
Werewolf by Night, or the end of the She-Hulk
end of that
episode?
She-Hulk episode.
It was just so invasive and personal and real.
Yeah,
like people go through it all the time.
It's yes, it's technically a worse thing for half of all life to get killed, but that was like, but that's not. But that isn't a sign that can just really happen.
Yeah.
Versus this is something that can happen, and it just
has happened.
Yes, it's happened many times, many celebrities, and that just adds to the scariness of it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you thought being a celebrity was the fun part, or that being a celebrity was the terrifying part because of how bothered you become. It's like, oh no, we also can like dox you, we can leak your stuff online. It was just terrifying. It all tied back to what Bruce said.
I never would have thought that Marvel would touch on sign like sex tapes.
Like a sex tape. Yeah. Kudos to them.
Like that's crazy, and especially that actually, I don't I think people at this point, you really can't you can't like put anything past them for ask them for Disney Plus. Like people try still will say, oh, I think they're good. I don't think they'll let the characters from Netflix be R-rated on their own series airs when they bring them in. But if they're willing to put a sign about sex tapes on Disney Plus, I think they're willing to have a little bit more violence.
Well, is Jessica Jones available on Disney Plus for you yet? Have you seen
an episode all of those shows that used to be on Netflix are now on Disney Plus.
Well, that show, in Canada anyway, I knew it was available. That show deals with suicide. It deals with pills. It deals with
people still, even though those are now on Disney Plus. And as well, Deadpool and Logan are on Disney Plus in America. They still think that Disney would never make new content that is TVMA, which I think they will. Like I really do. Like how can you say they aren't willing to go there if they're willing to do it do science scary as a sex tape?
Well, I mean, to me in the last, so I would say the most like grown up thing that has come out of MCU since the snap, since the big, Infinity War saga, is the seriousness of the Eternals, in dealing with something so dark and not making it super bright and campy and everything, and dealing with humanity over like centuries and then decades, and like seeing the darkness and maturity that can come out of existing on this earth that long, and the drama behind war versus peace, and whether or not they should use their powers and intervene, and like there was a lot of very mature themes. And nothing as drastic and as R-rated, I suppose, as like obviously not the same thing as a sex tape, but they're capable of both, and the campy and high energy and quippy funny stuff is great, and they've done that in She-Hulk, but not that tone shift at the end of that episode of She-Hulk episode 8 was so out of left field that I was like, that's why the whole rest of the show seemed so elevated.
Something I have talked about for a long time is how Marvel Studios, particularly Marvel Studios, not the TV content with the from Netflix, but particularly Marvel Studios, they have not put the F word fully in any of their stuff, and they've been teasing us with it, with like cutting it off or having it
Yeah.
censored or things like that.
Yeah.
For that reason, I think they need to have the first time that it's said be before Deadpool, because it will feel underwhelming if it's just part of a joke from Deadpool.
True.
I think so I think it would have been an amazing if that in that final scene when with She-Hulk, I think if I think like when she goes after those guys eyes, imagine if they had added in that into there her saying, I will fucking kill you. That would
Yeah.
that would really heighten the scene in it
I know.
doesn't need heightening, but it still would be it would have been really cool. Just like I also think another place where it could have worked well is in his at the end of Infinity War, or when Captain America is on his knees saying, "Oh God." Imagine this guy who we know of as the guy who doesn't curse, just going, "Oh fuck."
See, I feel like the oh god, and okay, I'll defend their choices on both these parts. And
I'm definitely not saying that they
Oh no,
did
I know.
made bad
And
choices.
it's
I'm
not
just
to
saying
argue with you.
it would have been. I think those would have been good places if they were to do them in those
So
places.
so when Cap, I think if Cap swears ever, it's usually to placate his modern teammates. If we ever see him swearing in the MCU in the Cap in the seasons, the movies we've seen him in before, it's usually to bond with his future people, with the this, oh okay, I'll catch up and I'll be one of you and I'll swear and I'll use this coarse language. When he was saying oh god at the end of Infinity War, that was 100% natural, authentic
Yes.
horror for him. So I think
Yeah.
that was much more true to his character to say that.
Particularly me, what I was thinking with it is like this guy, he doesn't really curse often,
Yeah, yeah,
so it it shows how much he's been broken down, how much that horror
yeah.
is. If not only does he curse in that moment, but he says as one of the hardest curses of all, and
Yeah.
that I think though you definitely don't need that for the scene to be good. It already was fantastic,
Mhm.
but just I think that it's kind of a beautiful idea to me that the person who doesn't really curse often, it taking such an event like that to get him to.
To
And
me
I
it
didn't
would have
like
worked.
how in Endgame, and after it was after we have known him as the guy who doesn't really curse, they just randomly had a scene when he's fighting
Yeah,
his
yeah.
younger self, where he jokingly was like, "Oh, you gotta be shitting me!" Like
Or he says that's
I think
America's
he
ass.
yeah I think if you're gonna have him curse, it needs to be emotional. It
Yeah.
needs to have some emotion to it. And
To me, the emotion instead of horror would be like if he's gonna say the F bomb, the old versatile F word, it would be in a moment of pure anger. And I think that would have made more sense for him to kind of break
I
his
can see
character
that.
and break his thing than to be genuinely horrified. Because when I watched him say oh god, I started contemplating what this meant. What was he figuring out in his mind over what just happened and who flaked away and disappeared?
Yeah.
Like what was he figuring out? And then he realized, oh, the absolute the idea or the plan of Thanos had come to fruition, he won. And Cap just lost, and he was just so devastated. If he was angry, I could see an angry fuck coming out of him for sure.
Do you agree with me though that because of how much they've teased it, when we finally get the word, it needs to have some emotion behind it. It can't just be Deadpool drinking a joke.
I would like it better, yeah, 100%.
I think that would be so underwhelming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I don't want to see like the less. Honestly, it's not so much that it's not funny when Deadpool swears. When I like Deadpool swearing, it's when he catches us off guard. I don't want to see somebody swearing for the sake of swearing. I want to see some saying like "what the ass." Like I want them playing around with what the conventions of language are. And when he does say things that are R-rated or swearing aloud, he should be able to play with it enough, as Ryan Reynolds or the writers of the movie should be able to play enough with him saying weird shit as opposed to just coarse language. You know what I mean? Like swearing for the sake of swearing, it comes off as low class. It comes off as this person doesn't know how to think of something better to say. Like there's got to be creativity there instead of just fuck every other word or shit. You know, it's got to be weird stuff that, you know, the chimichanga stuff, and like he does weird well, and that's what people want from Deadpool. But I do agree that the first F-bomb in the MCU, it would be nice if it was not a joke, but a serious moment. Like, I don't know how it's going to come out. I hope it's Wolverine, to be honest.
It annoys me because it feels like there is less and less time left for them to do it before it'll just end up being Deadpool who says it.
Well, sure.
And I love Deadpool. Dates. I love Deadpool, but but I want there to be some emotion behind it because why tease it for so long if you're not gonna give a good reason for saying it?
Also, to your other point, you mentioned the end scene where you were wondering maybe She-Hulk should say, "I'm gonna fucking kill you" or something in the She-Hulk show. Yeah. So that angry moment at the end of the 8th episode where she has finally hulked out. She's finally showed the monster that Bruce warned her about and said, if you show the monster side, all it takes is one time before the whole world looks at you as a monster and never trusts you again. And she looks into the camera and has that fourth wall break and then says nothing. And I loved that choice. I thought that was one of the most brilliant ways to end that episode. I was like, when she did look into the camera, I was like, a part of me was like, don't say anything because it would be so good if they just ended. Because who's done that? No one has done that with a fourth wall break. And I've seen some fourth wall breaks beyond just Deadpool and She-Hulk. They don't just stare into the camera like that.
Well, let's get off this tangent because we do want to actually be able to talk about Werewolf by Night.
Agreed.
So firstly, one thing I really enjoyed was how they how for the opening you had these they put slash marks over the regular Marvel Studios logo, and then there was, I think it was like almost like lightning or something over the actual like where it says the words Marvel Studios.
Yeah, I think it was.
I thought that was really cool. I wish we got more stuff like that. I was so hoping that we get something special like that for She-Hulk because it's like you had and because that was something they used to do sometimes with the Marvel Studios, or not Marvel Studios, but Marvel logo. Back in the 2000s for some of the 2000s movies, you would have like some unique looking
It makes you wonder too, like if every project has a different one, which ones are gonna seem different? You know what I mean? Like I want every one of them to do something different. And I appreciated this about the Werewolf by Night one. You remember when the Marvel logo turned green during Loki? Yeah. I loved that so much. I'm sure Incredible Hulk did it first.
No, but Incredible Hulk did not. But Hulk 2003 did.
Okay, that's where I'm.
Hulk 2003. Hulk 2003 had it green, and all of the comic issues that it flipped through were all Hulk ones.
See, that's what I missed too. And I look for those comic flips in the Marvel Studios opening thing. It used to be, and I don't know, maybe I'll look it up later, but the consistency of the comic book pages they would flip through for each of the movies that would come out would be specific to the character that they were featuring. And so you'd flip through Captain America comics, you'd flip through Avengers comics, but I don't think that they do that anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think when they flip through She-Hulk at the beginning
all that they do is show the MCU heroes instead.
They don't start out doing the comic book flip anymore?
No.
Oh my gosh.
They don't ever do a comic book flip anymore with Marvel Studios
sad.
stuff.
Why have I not noticed that? I'm looking at the Werewolf by Night thing, and there's the Marvel special that comes up, which is cute. Marvel special presentation. And then the beginning, even the first 3 seconds, isn't Marvel flips. See, this is what I'm talking about. Yes, there are Marvel comic book flips. Then the scratch down. It's not long, and it's definitely not nearly as long as it used to be. So I know it could easily be missed, but it's maybe like 3 seconds at the beginning where they flip through probably 20 pages. And if they made those 20 pages more specific to the characters, I think fans would notice, because that's what I was noticing way back.
I haven't even noticed that in since they changed the Marvel Studios logo sequence like 8 years ago. I think the first one where they put the new sequence, I think it was Doctor Strange back in 2016, and where they started having all the MCU heroes appear throughout it. All right, let's get into the actual film of Werewolf by Night. So the first one, actually, one thing I really enjoyed is the humor in this feels different from how the humor is in all the Marvel all the rest of the Marvel films.
Agreed.
To me, a lot of the humor felt like a little bit more like you'd find in sign like the 2000s Blade films than what you'd find nowadays.
Good catch.
And I love that.
I agree.
Like it felt to me it like felt like more what's the word? I think
bloodthirsty.
Maybe bloodthirsty, but I'm thinking more of like how like a lot of things in that film were like pun based, catchphrase based, and stuff like that. Versus you don't really get a lot of that nowadays.
Sure.
I love that kind of humor, so I love that they were willing to give it that. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. I caught that as being a little. I didn't actually catch it in the moment, but I see what you're saying as far as
I particularly felt that when they're having the like marionette doll sort of thing with the dead Ed Bloodstone guy.
Yeah. The father of the Bloodstone family. Yeah. He's passing his torch to his to not his daughter.
Which I thought that was a really fun little thing that they did.
Oh yeah.
I do think that was so interesting. How like that this guy before he died, he was like, all right, I'm gonna record myself talking, and then I'm going to ask that they find a way to make me seem like I am this puppet talking. Like, I just want to know how that conversation went.
Exactly.
I can just imagine his wife. I've just be like, you want what? You want what?
Yeah. Although she seemed pretty game. I also adore that actress. She was regular on Frasier when I was watching that growing up, and she played Frasier's agent, BB Glazer, and her name's Harriet Sansom Harris, and she's hilarious. She's very extreme. She's over the top. She's super dramatic, and that was what was so funny about her character in Frasier. But I did not expect her to be crossing over to the MCU for at least this special, anyways. Yeah, it's awesome.
And now, one thing I've heard a lot of people talk about out where this takes place in the Marvel timeline, and a lot of people are thinking it's like taking place in the 80s or it's taking place in the 30s. No, Marvel Studios has confirmed it takes place after Thor: Love and Thunder.
Ah,
It's
oh,
present day.
isn't that weird? And I thought that too, with the style of how they look, the electricity involved. I was like, it is an homage to a 1930s monster
I
era.
was thinking I was thinking simply it's the guy who set all this up, who died. He was just he liked that kind of stuff, so he created something just simply themed around that.
And it's some kind of like appreciation of a bygone era where they don't, there's no tech, there's no smartphones in there, nobody's using like
I
super
imagine
high
he probably
tech shit.
was not involved in the idea of hiring some guards to have a laser or pointers to or electricity pointer things.
Do you mean the guys from the TVA that everybody thought was from the TVA?
TVA.
Because I think that's who you're talking about.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Cool.
I don't think they're from the TVA. I think it would feel weird if that was involved in this. Yeah. I'm guessing he probably wasn't involved in the hiring of them. He probably would have asked that instead they like be holding either pitchforks or torches.
Yeah. True. And if that
make them look like the town mob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're that committed to the genre and the style and the era, then you would have you would have had an angry mob do everything for you. Yeah.
I think I loved the relationships they showed with between Russell and Ted, and then also but also I think even more so I enjoyed the scenes between in Elsa and Ted. I thought that was just that was a lot of fun on.
Wait, who's Russell?
Russell is the Werewolf by Night.
I thought his name was Jack.
His name is Jack Russell. I got it. I think his last name is Russell.
That's fucking brilliant. That his name is Jack Russell, and he's a werewolf.
Let's see.
I adore that. I adore. Please tell me that that's true.
Yeah, that's true. His last name is Russell.
Jack Russell. Oh, that's cute.
Oh man, this
really cool.
I really enjoyed the Scottish axe wielding guy. I thought he was a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. Of the hunters, I think he was the most interesting by far. Yeah. Him and then the woman who made it to almost the end, who I can't remember if there was any distinguishing names given to any of them, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know
the Bowie looking woman.
Yeah, the lady who got her head sliced in two. Or not completely sliced in two, but a sword going into her head. And I love that because it's because that is more bloody than Marvel usually allows.
Yes.
Which the reason they're able to do that obviously is because it was black and white, but Michael Giacchino, who directed this, like even before he had asked about being black and white, if I remember right, so he was talking in an interview a few weeks ago about like some of the development for this film. And like he said that that he kept asking if he could include more blood, and they never told him no. So he just kept putting more and more in, and I just love that.
Yeah, I mean, beg for forgiveness afterwards rather than ask for permission. Yeah,
they never. Well, he did ask. He kept asking, and they never told him no. So he's like, "All right, I'm gonna just keep adding it until you guys say no." And they just never did.
I feel like
I
they
love
never
that.
would unless it was red because of they just know,
Well,
like
they
as soon as it's
well,
black
I
and white,
think
that's when
this was.
everything becomes
I think
doable.
he what it hadn't been planned to be black and white at that point
Oh
when he
wow.
was asking him about it. He
Maybe they knew something he
yeah.
didn't, and he was shocked. And then he found out afterwards. Oh, by the way,
Uh,
return all your stuff black and white. And he's like, ah! That would be
it was.
a Halloween movie in itself. the the
Oh
things
man.
no one tells Michael Giacchino.
I
Giacchino.
I really enjoyed Elsa Bloodstone so much in this. I think
Yes.
um I I only thought I'm knowing of her in the comics was a Deadpool comic that she appeared in where um he became the king of the monsters and airs and she like either had to stop him or she was like really confused by him being monsters. I don't remember what it was, but it was but that's the only anything I've ever really seen her from. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed her in this, and I can't wait for her to get to appear in other stuff down the line.
And that's the fun thing is like people worried that this special was going to be, and some people are mad that it had nothing to do with Moon Knight, that it had nothing to do with the werewolf so much. It was all very much centric around the Bloodstone. And I understand that. They could have called it something else. It wasn't obviously a comic book Werewolf by Night. It wasn't that comic. It was a very much about introducing Elsa, introducing Man Thing, and introducing Jack Russell.
Yeah.
Which I still can't say with a straight face. But yeah, introducing those three characters, and then it's like people are like, "Oh, they're not gonna ever have them pop up again." It's like obviously they
No.
are.
This is
Obviously.
Marvel Studios.
Yeah, it's like, you don't
Even
have
if
a one-off.
even if it takes them 14 years, they will show up again.
They will show up again. Absolutely.
Or in the case of the leader, like 15 or 16 years.
And I loved also there was a very good balance, and I think this comes up a lot too with how much we're seeing the feminism complaints about She-Hulk, the misogynist complaints about She-Hulk, the things where we're seeing like, oh, in a show where the woman's the lead role, the men have to be written as stupid and written as weak or whatever. It's silly. It's really silly. And we're seeing all that argument over She-Hulk, and this is a one-off, one shot, where the men and women in this special were done so equally. You've got Jack showing Elsa how to tie off her leg correctly, but he's not pushing the issue. He just wants to make sure she's fine, and they have that great conversation. She is also not the damsel in distress ever.
Oh yeah.
She is always like an argument could be made that she's in the damsel in distress during the like cage scene, but not really. Like it's the two. It's just everyone's very balanced. There's women hunters, there's men hunters, there's Elsa, there's Jack, and nobody's gender doesn't feel like a big argument here, and it's refreshing to me just to take that break, just to take that week off, John, where we're not thinking about that relationship with the world that the world's having right now, and how She-Hulk amplifies it, and Werewolf by Night ignores it, and is just going, hey, everybody here is a monster hunter, everybody here is equal.
Yeah.
Shut up, everyone. We're all human. And I enjoy that, except for the couple of us that are monsters. But even the monsters are great. Isn't Ted a wonderful?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say human being,
I found myself throughout this this special just like speaking to the screen as if I was Ted trying to say what he's saying to give my own ideas of what he's trying to tell people.
Yeah, and especially with Jack like filling in the blanks too. You're like, oh, what did he just say?
And like Jack? The voice I give him is just like, okay, yeah, okay.
That's a good man thing. That's a very good Ted impression. I like that.
Oh man. And I thought it was so cool how at the end of it they had had it switching the color that and
over the
rainbow
plays.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Beautiful choice. Incredibly
And
beautiful choice.
you just get this beautiful picture of Elsa sitting in that sitting in the chair as it's as the colors coming over her. I loved that and then you get the get both Jack and Ted and where Ted had made him a little fort art to the end. And also, this is I noticed on second watch. But so Ted, right before he left the room, he grabbed one of the cloaks so that he can dress as Jack in it and to give him some clothes after he comes back from being the werewolf.
Did he?
Yes,
Oh my god!
That's some great attention to detail.
I didn't know he grabbed a cloak.
Yeah, he grabbed in the wide shot as he's walking out of the room. He grabs something off the floor, and I'm pretty sure it was a cloak. Either it was a cloak
awesome.
or it was a person for him to eat. I don't think it was a person for him to eat.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. And also the cloak that Jack is wearing in that end scene doesn't look like what he was wearing throughout the rest of the
No, it's definitely not his cloak.
Yeah. We're obviously not gonna get to talk about everything about this special, but there's just so much great stuff in this. I really want Marvel to continue making these holiday specials, whether they're Christmas ones or they're Halloween ones. I love the idea of holiday themed things within a superhero world. I would really love to see and I've told you before about the like She-Hulk and Hulk Christmas special, but I would also love to see one that is She-Hulk for a Halloween, and it's and like have her teaming up with Elsa and Ted in the and maybe Jack. I think that would be a really fun relationship.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a new thing that I don't know if you want to do, but I'm gonna spring this on you right now. It's called Keith's homework assignment, and I only give you this because you might like this movie. So, the guy playing Jack Russell, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of his name right now, but Gael Garcia Bernal, is famous for a few other movies, but one that I would highly recommend is The Motorcycle Diaries. It was my first time ever seeing the guy in anything, and he is so damn good in that. I would love to hear your thoughts about what you thought of that masterpiece kind of movie. It's very different.
Right.
It's nothing.
I'll have to get that watch.
It's just a serious drama, like a crazy, weird, and very interesting drama.
Okay.
Yeah, I would check it out.
All right. Well, I think what else we want to talk about. The design for the werewolf in this, I really liked how they did the werewolf in this.
Yes, 100%.
Looked really cool to me. And then also, Man Thing Ted is perfect. It's literally exactly the comic.
Yeah, ripped right from the pages, and that's
like,
what's
beautiful. That surprised me that it was so exactly like the comic one.
But at the same time, introducing him in this campy homage to the 1930s monster movies, and then everything comes to color, and he still looks the way you would hope he looked because of the comics.
Yeah,
it fit right in both. It was a great introduction to such a strange looking character design, but an accurate one. And it's all about how these things are introduced in the right way. I think that there's no thing from the comics that can't be done with more authenticity if they just introduce it in the right way. That's just a hopeful, and maybe it's too hopeful, but it's a belief, I feel.
Yeah. And then you had transformation sequence, and
Yeah.
it's into a Werewolf by Night. I really enjoyed that. And though I know a lot of people are saying that saying that they like that we didn't actually see it, and it was and they did it off the wall, which I liked that too. But I also wish we did get some more glimpses of it as it was going on. Just because the thing, like I feel like MCU, they don't do enough transformation sequences, like particularly like with
They're
Hulk.
expensive.
With Hulk, they he hasn't had an actual full transformation sequence since 2012.
Oh wow.
I love transformation sequences,
Yeah.
and so them cutting away, I just don't I don't really like them. I like that every time they do that, but I can understand it in this one because they wanted to make things more practical.
I got some more homework for you.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've over my many years of watching horror movies, and especially classic horror movies, and especially werewolf, when it comes to the classic type of horror monsters, werewolves have always been my thing. They've been my favorite one. They'd be the one that I want to write about, the ones that if I could wish that I was one, yeah, it'd be a werewolf, which just seems really strange. But what what I love is ever since the film I'm gonna fuck up the film name now. Hang on. A Werewolf in London. Ever since that film, they have not done a very good transformation scene. The closest I'd say is the Benicio del Toro 2010 The Wolfman. I would check that one out, but that one's very CG dependent. And it was good CG for the time, especially 2010, my goodness. But the okay, so it's called An American Werewolf in London, and I feel like an ass because that is a big deal about it being a tourist kind of experience as well. There's American Werewolf in London, and there's a sequel called An American Werewolf in Paris. The Paris one's not as good, but that's the one my sister grew up with. I don't think she understood that it was actually a sequel to a 1981 film. But American Werewolf in London is a very funny, dark comedy about a couple of American tourists going into the moors and the northern London foggy, hilly areas to just go hiking and backpacking. And they stop at a pub and they go backpacking and they stop at a pub. And that's the way you're supposed to tour the Northern England area. But they unfortunately come to a woods that they should not go into. And they make it to the pub, but shortly after being attacked by a gigantic wolf. That movie is such a slow burn. However, the werewolf transformation scene at the end of it is so mind-blowingly good, and the practical effects of it are so mind-blowingly authentic, crazy, different. I don't think anyone's tried, or I think people have tried to match it but never succeeded. And that might be one of the things holding people back from showing a proper werewolf transformation again, is if they try to reach, like, this is the bar. The bar was set by American Werewolf in London. So that is another piece of homework I would assign you. If you ever have the time, check that out.
Is that the werewolf comedy that stars Michael J. Fox?
No. So that's a very campy comedy. I only call American Werewolf in London a comedy because him and his buddy being tourists, being American tourists, they crack a lot of wise when they're there, and it doesn't, it's not the whole movie. I would say that there is some humor probably throughout, but Teen Wolf is the Michael J. Fox movie is much more campy and much more more like ready for a family comedy. American Wolf is not a family comedy. Yeah, it's a lot more disgusting and a lot more serious.
All right, well, all right. So, I'm going to. I will actually, since you did get the answer to the trivia question right.
What?
The answer was he sees dead people.
Oh my god! So, I didn't know that.
I am going to allow you to write in chat something you would like me to say, and I will do it in my spooky voice.
Ooh, okay, hang on. I gotta really think about this. Dang. He saw dead people?
Yes.
What? They should play that up. Wouldn't that be a great reveal if they did do a Hulk movie with Mark Ruffalo? That'd be so sick.
That's a whole reason why I have been waiting to use this trivia question for almost a year now, because I saw this trivia question literally first time I started asking trivia questions on the show, and I was like, this is something I need to wait for Halloween to do.
That's awesome. All right, you gotta talk about something else while I write this thing that you have to say at the end.
So so for the people listening, in the coming weeks, I will be also having another sort of Halloween themed episode. I'm hoping it's going to be The Mask. I'm still trying to get my guests scheduled for that. If I'm not able to get my guest scheduled for that, I'll try and find some different guests and do there is a Halloween themed Hulk animated film that I might be able to do if I'm not able to get them on for what I want to have done, which is a mask review. And the reason I wouldn't just have try and get different guests on is because the guests I'm planning for the master review, I really want both of them on there. I think they're going to have a lot of fun things to say for that review. The Hulk Halloween themed animated film is called Hulk Where Monsters Dwell, which Where Monsters Dwell is literally a line that was said in Werewolf by Night, which was really interesting. Like immediately when that was said at the beginning of the special, I was just like, I recognize that. I've seen the Hulk animated film that is called that. Which this Hulk animated film is one that I have been wanting to review for a long time. I want to wait till the right moment of when I want to review it.
Yeah.
Particularly, I actually what I like most about it is because this is a film. This is a film that is a crossover between Hulk and Doctor Strange, and the villain is Nightmare. So, so a big part of this film is this almost horror themed aimed mindscape where it is Bruce Banner having to confront the Hulk.
Ooh,
that is and that it is sort of a comedic Halloween film, but I love it just for that aspect alone, because that's something I find so interesting, the idea of Hulk and Bruce Banner having to actually confront each other.
And I love he
gets chased by the Hulk in this mindscape.
Nice.
Like it's
that gives me
stuff.
some Professor X Apocalypse vibes from the X-Men Apocalypse movie. Probably the best thing about that movie was how he interacted with Professor X, in my opinion. But no, one of my favorite things about the She-Hulk series, my second favorite episode, it basically goes, I'd say the Daredevil episode comes first, the Bruce episode, the pilot episode, comes third. My second favorite episode is when she and Wong take on all those demons in the magic show, because of that contrast and seeing superheroes interact, like the way we saw Daredevil and She-Hulk interact, is fun. Probably the best fun about shows.
Characters interacting is the biggest thing I want out of the MCU right now. I would rather MCU have an entire phase of just two characters teaming up with each other.
That'd be awesome. Team up phase.
And more just solo things, because that's I love those interactions, and that's
it's funny because Taika kind of started that, like, other than the obvious, like the Avengers movies, and like maybe we see Black Widow team up with Cap, which just seems right because it was a spy thriller. Like, they have been integrating a lot of team ups all around, but stranger team ups is what I want to see. The ones that really make no sense together in a good way. And you've got She-Hulk and Wong fighting all these bat demons that turn into rat demons that turn into all these other things. And it's just like, that's beautiful. It looks so funny. She's kicking ass while he's doing magic.
I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like particular ones I really want to see is Hulk and Spider-Man. And then also because of the both what was started a little bit in Civil War, but mainly it's been signed in real life. I want Spider-Man and the new Captain America, Sam Wilson.
Yes,
I think that would be so much fun.
It would be a blast, and like, the fact that he had that moment back when
and just make it so completely be the how they act together. Make it be exactly how they act in real life with I have these jokes of like
let me get you your juice.
Things like that.
Usually there's not this much talking.
Like, Captain America is just like constantly annoyed at him. Like I love that. I love that idea, and I hope when we eventually get Spider-Man 4, they continue doing doing what they have done in the past of the Spider-Man MCU films of trying to have some crossovers. Like is honestly, even though we were told all going into this, all of his films would have these crossovers, we haven't gotten them as much as I want them. Like,
well, he's got a lot of people to cross
Tony
over
Stark with. Tony Stark was barely in Homecoming.
Yeah,
there was no other superhero that was in Far From Home.
Yeah, Far From Home.
And then Doctor Strange never really teamed up with Spider-Man in No Way Home. Yeah. So I want a full-on film that is actually him teaming up with another other superhero.
And he teamed up with himself in No Way Home. That was more so the team up, right?
Oh yeah.
And to me, in Far From Home, he was the main team up with Nick Fury, and that wasn't really the same kind of thing at all.
No, it's not. And I
agree.
That was the whole reason it excited me when we found out he joined the MCU, because the biggest problem I've always had with his previous 5 films is that he's all alone.
Let me ask you this. Has your favorite thing so far, team up wise, been the opening fight with him and Iron Man against and Doctor Strange against the Children of Thanos in Infinity War?
That was definitely a really good one.
So good.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites.
Like the whole thing of like, I want him to be able to interact with all of the other heroes in this universe, because that's something that he was never able to do at Sony.
True.
And so it saddened me that it kind of wasn't nearly as much in his films as I wanted. I wanted. So hoping in the future they're able to actually get things like that to happen, and like, and that's the whole reason why I didn't like how No Way Home ended, because because the relationships that have been created from him joining the MCU all just vanished because of that kind of.
We don't know that they vanished forever.
But
everybody still knows Spider-Man exists. That's the part nobody seemed to get right away. That guy still exists in everybody's hearts and everybody's minds. They just don't know who it is. I agree with you. I see what you're saying, though.
What was it? What was I going to say? So I've heard people try to say like he's too reliant on some of the connections to the MCU, but the thing is, to me, I don't get that issue, because that's exactly what I wanted out of this out of the MCU Spider-Man.
Yes, of course he's strong on his own.
here's what I was going to say. The big thing that was so important to me about him joining the MCU is within his previous 5 films, because he was alone. You don't really get nearly as much of being able to relate to him versus to him, and because he is the big strong superhero in those films. Versus in the MCU, there are so many more superheroes that are stronger than him, making him the little guy.
Yeah.
There's a difference between him being the only superhero, so he's the big superhero, versus he's the little superhero. That is the big difference, and and I think that was the big thing why they needed him to be in the MCU. Do you have what you want me to say?
I do. Are you ready?
Yes. Can you send that in chat?
Boom. Sent.
All right. This is me, Smash Trivia John, signing off, and expect more episodes to be a much more mature. You'd like that, wouldn't you, Mr. Poopy Pants?
Incredibly well done, sir.
All right. Well, is there any final words you'd like to say before I actually end this off?
I have loved talking about werewolves, and I appreciate doing an entire episode on werewolves specifically this month of all times. It's made me want to watch all my favorite werewolf movies all over again.
Yeah, I really wanted for there to be some Halloweeny themed content for this this month, because I love Halloween content, and like, even though I love horror films.
Yeah,
I actually like more just the spooky, like, family family, and then the classic monster movies than I actually like for Halloween, particularly a horror films.
Yeah,
because those give me the nostalgia
exactly
from my childhood, and that's why for the Patreon, instead of doing any horror films, which I have done multiple horror films for the Resmash in previous months. So if people wanted that, they do have that. But I decided I'm gonna both do the Monsters, which is something I've never watched the original Monsters TV series. So I went into that blind, but I absolutely loved the ridiculousness of that film.
I gotta check that out.
And then I also just as to get an nostalgia thing, and also just to see like how well it holds up, I'm watching the Halloween Town films, the 4 Halloween Town films, because those are something I watched when I was a kid. But other than the first one, which I watched a few years ago, the rest of them, it's been since I was a kid that I watched them. So I want to see if they hold up.
Fair.
These are our Disney Channel films, so there's a chance they won't, but but I'm very excited. I think even if they don't hold up, my nostalgia will just make them hold up for me.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, right? You can only find out when you try.
Have you ever seen the Halloween Town films?
No, that was, I don't even know when the first version of them would have come out. It seems like something far past my years.
Do you not watch many family Halloween films?
Well, I watched the ones that I grew up with watching with my family, but as an adult, I don't have kids, so I don't look for the family ones first. You know, I look for ones that'll scare my fiance.
That makes sense.
We'll sit and we'll watch something together and we'll pick it apart, but we usually won't pick apart the ones that are more kid friendly. We'll usually pick apart shitty movies that are horror, or really elevated movies that are horror.
I know you've watched Hocus Pocus. Have you watched the second one?
Yes, I watched it.
What did you think
last
of it?
Weekend. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great match to the vibes. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I liked it even more than the first one. I thought blasphemy. No, I'm just kidding.
The thing is, so the reason for that, I like the style of humor in the second one a bit better, but also the first one. Honestly, there's a lot of things in the first one that don't make sense. versus
what do
they
you mean?
do versus I think it makes more sense than a lot of the stuff in the second one.
Yeah.
Um, the only gripe I was able to think of with the second one was that was and this is like I'm actually probably gonna not talk about here because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. And I will say so I to you off air after we cut the recording.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because I really don't want to spoil it for anyone who
Fair.
hasn't seen the
Yes.
film because I do highly recommend watching that.
Yes. Watch both. You gotta
Yeah,
watch them in
watch
sequential
both of them.
order.
And
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you for or listening. And if you like this gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode, so please let me know. And make sure they're good, or you might hear some creepy things coming from your under your bed. And if you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more gamma analyses from me coming, so keep on the lookout. And just so you know, the creepy things from me from your bed are people gonna eat you. It's not anything weird. It's just people gonna eat you. All right. This again is your host, Smash Trivia John, signing off.